All right, let's talk about something that can totally change how you think about, well, failure. We're going to dive into this really simple but incredibly powerful Japanese proverb. It's not about trying to never fall down. It's about getting really, really good at standing back up. I mean, be honest, right? Most of us are. We live in this world of highlight reels where everyone's just showing their best moments. We hide our mistakes, we quietly delete the posts that don't get enough love, and we treat failure like it's some kind of disease we have to hide. It's this nonstop pressure to look perfect. But what if we've got it all backwards? What if that moment you stumble isn't a final verdict that says you should quit? This is the whole idea we're digging into today. That failure isn't the opposite of success. It's actually a key ingredient. It's part of the recipe. So, how do we start thinking this way? Well, it begins with a concept that basically turns resilience into a simple numbers game. And here it is, Nanakorobi Yaoki. The translation is just so direct and beautiful. Fall down 7 times, stand up 8. Now, this isn't just some optimistic little quote. It's a whole philosophy, and it's built on a very specific and very important bit of math. And here's what's so cool about this. Look at the numbers. It doesn't say try not to fall. It just assumes you're going to fall. It expects it. The falling part is treated as a given. It's just part of the journey. The only thing that really matters, the only part you actually control, is that you get up one more time than you fall. That's where the magic is. And that right there, that changes everything. A setback isn't the end of the road. It's not some cosmic judgment on your skills. It's just step 7. You haven't lost, you're just in the middle of the process. And step 8 is always your next move. In Japan, this idea isn't just an abstract thought. It's actually embodied in this really fascinating physical object, the Daruma doll. So these are these traditional round hollow dolls, but they've got a secret weapon. See, they have this weighted bottom, and that anchors their center of gravity, which makes them the perfect little symbol for resilience. So what happens when you push one over? Well, it doesn't fight you, it doesn't struggle, it just rolls with it. It uses that momentum to pop right back to its center. It's a totally natural reaction. So the goal for us isn't to force ourselves back up after a fall, but to build such a strong, anchored sense of purpose that getting back up just becomes our natural state of being. Okay, so this brings us to a huge difference in mindset. It's all about changing the words, the actual vocabulary we use to talk about our setbacks. A lot of the time, especially in the Nanakorobi Yaoki mindset, that stumble isn't a verdict. It's just texture. It's part of the story, giving it depth. I love this way of thinking about it. What if we just acted more like a scientist? They don't see a failed experiment as some kind of personal flaw. To them, it's just data. They just discovered one way that doesn't work. And in science, that is always, always progress. So try this little mental exercise with me. Think of something in your life that you've labeled a failure. Got it? Okay, now in your mind, just cross out that word failure and write experiment over it. My business experiment, my dating experiment. See how that feels? It just pulls the shame right out of it and turns a bad memory into a lesson. All right, so that's the theory. But how do we actually build up this resilience muscle? Well, you gotta practice. So here's a little something for you to try. The small failure challenge. The whole point is to intentionally do something small where you're probably gonna get a no. Ask for a 10% discount on your coffee. Try a Sudoku puzzle that's way too hard. The point is not to succeed. The real goal here is to experience that tiny little sting of rejection and then realize you're totally fine. You didn't shatter, you just fell down on a very, very small scale and you immediately stood back up. This is like strength training for your nervous system, getting it ready for the bigger tumbles that life will inevitably send your way. And this all leads to a really fundamental truth about what success even is. We love the myth of the overnight success, don't we? The person who just kind of glides to the top with no effort. But the reality, success is almost always just endurance in disguise. The people we admire the most aren't the ones who never fell down. They're the ones with the most scrapes and bruises. They're the ones who just got really good at getting up that 8th time, and the 9th, and the 10th. So here's the big takeaway. Life is gonna knock you down. That's not a personal failing on your part, that's just gravity. It happens to literally everyone. The fall is pretty much inevitable. But what you do next, well, that's your choice. Getting back up, that is where all your power lies. And in the end, it all just boils down to this incredibly simple, powerful math. You don't have to be perfect. You don't need to win every single time. You just need your ups to outnumber your downs by one. That's it. That is the whole game. So the only question left is, are you ready to stand up again?